Hello, everyone, and welcome. And today I'm going to talk about a few things, and they are a little bit longer than it used to be, so please be patient. First, I would like to talk about something that recently happened and about the translation of the book and into English, of course. And the second thing I want to talk about the proof of God, and I summarized it, and I didn't do well last time. I changed it a lot, and I know some people watched it, but I'm not happy with it. So I'm going to reiterate some points and also make some corrections, of course. And the last one, I want to talk about the inheritance of the book from the history of philosophy, and that's so three things, and we'll do it one by one. If you are tired of it, and you may stop and continue next time, and whatever way you want it to be. All right, first announcement. The website I managed for 5 years, that is baguwen.com, will be shut down at the beginning of January. And because of the funding and the time, it's a little bit too much for me. So I'm going to stop doing it since I have other ways to do it. For example, in this YouTube and internet, of course. And mostly I have been doing the discussion and talking in the Chinese internet, see readers in the past. But I really feel it's a sort of a waste of time because although many people participated in it, but really I didn't see anybody is showing uh, a great interest in pursuing knowledge. And some people know a little bit of it, and talk about it, even write articles about it. But all in all, I feel it's still they don't get it. And but troubles me more is in the West, people say for intellectuals, you don't have the intellectual honesty. That's a problem for the Oriental people or the intellectuals, if you want to call them. But it's really they are hardly qualified for that word. I'm sure they just don't have the intellectual honesty. They don't know it. They don't say it. They don't know it. They pretend to know it. They ridicule you and they say something nasty about it, and they don't want to know the knowledge. Well, I guess it's a sort of a psychology, mental state of if you can do it, why can't I? It's a sort of out of the street envy for other people's whatever thoughts or something. But actually, I just want to pursue this one and then talk about it seriously, discussing about it. You see, what that's all philosophy is about, right? Pursuing the truth. But I feel that a lot of Chinese and uh, uh, they have degrees, they are educated, they have never learned philosophy in details. For 5,000 years, they don't even have this concept. They just have some fancy thoughts, that's it. And they maybe have some wisdom to some extent, but nothing theoretically, nothing analytical, nothing in detail. You cannot see any system in it. That's their problem. But they are so arrogant and so dishonest, and that's really make me feel that I cannot stand them anymore. So that's why I switched to the YouTube. Hopefully, I can find the Western audience and Western intellectuals and love of the truth and pursuit of the truth. Because according to my understanding, the Chinese or the entire Oriental is the same thing. They have a culture of intuition, I call it. They do things according to the intuitive feeling. They like it or they don't like it. It depends entirely on emotion. But the Western culture, they are a culture of reason or rationale. They have analysis, they have rules, they have axioms, they have theorems. They go logically, That's the difference. So I trust this side more than the other side. That's why I feel bad about a lot of things they did. They said they told me. All right. So that's related to the translation of the book into foreign language. I mean, either English or German or French or whatever. Well, I should mention in the meanwhile, I do find some people from the West, of course. They don't know, what they are talking about either. And because when I talk to them, some of them are, by the way, are professors or philosophy experts. They say something. We don't think it's philosophy or something. Well, it made me wonder if what they are doing. They all have PhDs. They all from the well-known universities in the West, either United States or uh, Britain or France or Germany or Denmark or whatever in Europe or in the United States, in Canada, in Australia. They don't know what they are talking about, and that they don't even seriously question what they, their questions are. And they're saying in the other day I heard in the TED talk a guy teaching us how to argue or discuss, make a public speech in general. He said something that impressed me somehow. He said, "I know there must be something, but I don't know what it is." That's his theme. He repeated it several times. I think to my theory, that I call it instancology and absolutology, you at least should have the feeling. I'm not expecting you to understand it, but you at least should have the feeling there must be something. But what it is, I don't know. At least you should have this attitude. Otherwise, how can you say you are a philosophy professional? And I gave you so many evidence. I wrote like 30 pages in English and more than 30 videos of short videos. And to say this, and I'm not expecting you understand mm, anything or most of it, or at least something. There is something in philosophy. You should know that. Wow, it's amazed me that I heard people say deny my theory in the West, but well, that's a minority, I should say, and I think a lot of people are really smart. They don't say anything, just hold you there. They know that they cannot say anything. If they make a judgment, that they are wrong because they make it under the presumption that they know it. Otherwise, you are contradicting yourself, right? You tell the guy that we don't approve what you did, but do you know the applicants or the author will ask you, do you know what you are doing? You know what it is philosophy? You, well, sometimes I felt so indignant. I just replied that one of us don't know what he is doing, I'm sure. but who it is, I don't know. And that's my normally polite reply to the denial of my theory. Sometimes I do that, and I think that's the polite way I go, and that's it. All right, and so far just a little thing about whatever currently I'm doing, and so that's it. All right, okay. Let me come to the second question, the proof of God I did last time. I'm not happy with it, and so I want to make some corrections on it and let you feel if it's all right to you. All right. First, I want to say in the process of proving of God, of the God, and in our philosophy history, we have many people doing that since ancient times, and Socrates, Plato, Aristotle, the medieval times like Augustine, Aeschylus, Thomas Aquinas, and later on Descartes and Kant, Hegel, and, even Heidegger, and many more, and like that. Like, but to my mind, I think the best of proving the existence of God is Thomas Aquinas in the 12th century, and that's bishop, right, or saint. Yeah, I think it's saint. Anselm is bishop, I think. And his points, his 5 points of proving is still the best. And even Descartes cannot surpass it. Descartes says something about the perfection of God, and if you don't feel any more perfect, it's a God or something. It's not as strong as Aquinas, and I think a lot of people will agree on that. And Descartes didn't do a good job on that. He didn't surpass Aquinas on that. Aquinas' points we can summarize as 5 points. Okay, all right, I'll write it down. And all right, the first one is, can you see it? Yeah, you can see it. Okay. The first one is the mover theory. All right, it's like Newton's. Something move must have a mover, and eventually there's a mover, one by one, and that's it. At the beginning must be a mover. It's ideas like that. That's number one. All right, the mover theory. All right. Okay, that's clear. The second one is called causation theory. It's the same as above, but it's a sort of a theorize it, right? Like Hume's thing, right? It's the the something. If it happened, it must be caused by something else. So eventually, the original, the first cause, is God. All right. So this lead to God, and this one lead to God, of course. All right. Okay. So causation, you can understand. It's a theory of mover thing, right? It belong to the same thing, right? Basically. And the third one is called uh, contingent contingency theory. All right. We know in our world a lot of things changes, right? So we say it's contingent or accidental. All right. According to Thomas Aquinas, there must be something not contingent that's a necessary being. Then what it is? Eventually, he concludes that's God, right? Well, it's reasonable. If everything's contingent, it changes a lot, and how can you say there is something? Uh, uh, how can you say the logic? So it must be God. God isn't necessary. It won't change, right? So it leads to God too, right? Okay. The fourth one I think is let me see what is the fourth one. All right. Is that teleological? Well, teleological proof is a proof that everything has a designer behind, right? Let's say in modern times when people argue about the design of the eyes or the sequence, the coding sequence of DNA, and it's very hard to believe that by chance you can arrive at preciseness or delicate structure in them, right? Or you can say if by you only say by chance they can arrive at preciseness, delicacy of the structure of the eyes or the RNA or DNA, right? Using RNA to pass the message, um, it's almost impossible because you don't have enough time for that, right? It's commonly we say you cannot shake a box of parts of a clock into a clock in perfect clock. Well, how long do you need to do it? Right? Probably before the end of this Big Bang, it won't. You won't have enough time for that, right? You need to shake and gazillion years to do that, right? It's impossible. So that's basically that idea. All right, mover theory. Let me see what's the last one. Mover, causation, contingency. Oh yeah. That's right. The fifth one, morality. All right, morality. Okay, morality theory. If we don't have a God, you don't know what is good and what is bad. You can do everything you want, right? You can go out and killing people and steal things. You can do a lot of things, anything everybody wants, right? Only God gave us morality. We know what is good, what is bad. Yeah, we pursue good, we punish bad. That's Thomas Aquinas theory. All right, so 5 points. It's as a set. All right, okay. Here's my argument. Why IA, that is, my instancology and absolutology is different from them. How I say that IA proves better or is different than Thomas Aquinas. That's my point. In other words, I want to push down Thomas Aquinas and to use mine, see if it's convincing. Okay, I'll let you judge. Be the judge. Okay? All right. Look at here. If the mover thing, first one, the moving must be a mover behind it. How do we know? By observation, right? Right? Daily observance of things and moving one by one. You want to try to find the first one, right? That's called by experience. So that's inductive reasoning. Is that correct? I think you agree with me. This is inductive in nature, all right? Inductive reasoning. All right? So the mover theory is induction in reasoning. And everybody knows induction has its problem, right? Hume, the British of the trio of the philosophers, the last one, Hume says induction has its problem, right? You see sun rises every day. It doesn't mean tomorrow it will bound to rise again. No, you cannot be sure of that. But we know almost all the science, all the fields are now depend on induction, right? Because they want probability, not necessity. So that's the difference between theory and the reality, all right? Okay, that's another topic. I don't want to go detail into it. Okay, let's look at the second one, causation. If there's a result, it must have a cause. Okay, what is this, the nature of this argument? Because of the causation, we believe, so it must be a God. All right? I would think this one is deduction, right? Because we all follow causation. If causation is correct, and the God must exist. So the premise is the thesis, right? From there, it's sort of like an axiom. We go from there, we define something, causation, we define what is causation. Then by definition, God must exist. All right, so it's in deduction. Deduction, okay? Does deduction have problem? Well, I have never read anything saying deduction has problem, but I'm sure it has problem. Why? Let me give you an example. In in the Euclid geometry, okay, when he started, he defined a point. What is point? A point, right? A point. A point is something which has no area. That's the definition. It's very abstract when they go from there, right? Then blah blah blah. The point moves becomes a line, and the line moves become square. Square moves become cube, cubic area or something. Okay, so but anyway, it is the deduction here. I just want to give you example. It's sort of like an induction too, but it's sort of a more abstract, but it still comes from our world, right? How did we get the definition? Is that we depend on our reason to get from this world we are living? Of course it is, right? So that's a problem. You try to prove something, you get it from abstract from the reality, right? You give a higher level of it, but they still come from the reality, right? They still come from our world. All right? Okay. Okay. The third one, contingency, or teleological one, or morality. And I mentioned there's one more. It's like Kirk Gödel's incomplete theorems, or Bertrand Russell's paradox. That's basically, they all basically saying, when you prove something, you cannot prove, there must be some certain element in this system that cannot be proved. That's according to Gödel, right? And also, according to common sense, how can a system prove itself? It cannot, right? So here we come to the essence of what is proof. What is proof? I'll say for any proof to be working, you must have at least two things. One is the target, one is the method, right? Missing any one of it, it won't work. That's for sure. That's the nature of proving things. And so far in our world, it works well for a lot of things. But now we come to the fundamental proof of God, we'll have problem. Because what we try to prove is the last one thing, only one. What is that? It's God. We cannot use any other things to prove the existence of God. There is no the Father of God. That's a problem. We have only one, that is God. So we cannot prove it. We cannot use, in other words, we cannot use something to prove God. See my point? Something. You cannot say something. You cannot. Because something, as long as it is something, it is relative. Is that correct? If there is a thing or there is something, it's relative. Right? The other day I analyzed the word nothing. Nothing actually is a property of something. Because nothing, like Heidegger did, taking into the language, analyze it. No means denial or lack of it. Thing is a thing. So if there's no something, how can that be nothing? So nothing belongs to something. That's why Hegel says being first. Then nothing is a change of being. It has a reason for it. All right? Okay. So here the problem of proof. For these three, you can say it falls into the trap of proving itself. You need a second thing to prove something. You cannot only use methodology here. You have to have a target. Here we have God. God is our target. But what else can we have? You use a method to prove it? How can you prove your method then? So the problem is something cannot prove God because it's relative. God is not relative. What's the opposite of relative? Well, Albert Einstein told you it's called relativity. Let's go to philosophy then. The opposite of relative is called the absolute. All right, here's the point. What is the absolute then? First, I want you to understand you cannot even say what is absolute. Now it's just for the sake of expressing. I'm using the language to describe it. Actually, everything I said about absolute is wrong. Because absolute is grasped, can be grasped, not through language. You have to get this point. In my book, I call it pure 无性. It's something like a pure insight. I don't know what's the translation. But anyway, that's a feeling, that's an experience. Everybody, well, mostly, a lot of inventors or artists, they have it more often. Like when Archimedes discovered the ratio of the alloy about gold, when he's in the bathtub and he ran naked to the street shouting, "Eureka! I found it." That kind of experience is called pure 无性. With that method, he discovered this. So that's a method of discovery. That's in my book already. All right? In the West, epistemologically speaking, you are rational already. You have reason. But reason or logic or rationale come to the end is logic. Logic is mathematics. Mathematics is the chains. circle by circle, little one chains and a little circle connected to another one. So all the way go up. If that chain can work, machines will overtake human beings. We don't need human beings in future. Everywhere is machine. So that's impossibility, right? And in my book, I tell you why. But here, just hear my conclusion, right? Okay. So let's come back to absolute. Absolute is inexpressible with the language. That's why. That's I want to come to the third topic. All right. That is the relationship of instancology and absolutology with the history of philosophy. I said in my book many times, philosophy is dying for a reason. Because logically, it has nowhere to turn. If you wonder why there's no big system comes out after, well, let's say, Hegel, or to some lesser extent, Heidegger. Why? Where is there only some insights? Actually, Heidegger's is the insight, or Wittgenstein's insight. And to mention to less extent recently, Derrida's is the insight. That's a smaller one about the language, things like that. No system. It's not people are not productive anymore. It's no. Logically, it is nowhere to go. Everything grows according to some logic. Like a tree grows, a baby grows up, there is a logic in it. So does philosophy. When philosophy makes a circle, from getting up, since Parmenides, to falling down, complete a circle, talking about design by Heidegger, or Wittgenstein about the language. That's the end of it. All life is over. You have to go further, go more to something else. That's why ontology, on means on something, something existed, something, the study of something. So absolutology is not about something. What's funny is when you say not something, you must think not something else. When you die, you are not something anymore, but you become something else, right? Become ashes, or air, or water, or whatever. But here, when I say something and not something else, where do you go? It's not something, it's not something else. It's not nothing, it's not nothing else. So the only word I found is it is the opposite of the relative. It's called absolute. In absolute, there is no something, right? Something haven't even born yet. When something comes into being, be careful with this word, this concept, it emerges from potentiality to being. It is relative already. Of course, as soon as it becomes something, it becomes true. Impregnate with something else, so it becomes true. Okay, that's another point I want to discuss about later. All right, here let's go on with this. First, I like the philosophy G7 or G8 maybe. This phrase. Okay, first big guy is Parmenides. What's good about Parmenides? According to Parmenides, thought is being, being is the world. That's a very deep thinking. In other words, if there's nothing there, you cannot even think. So he trusts only being is and nothing isn't. So to learn knowledge, to obtain knowledge, you must follow being, not nothing. But in other words, you can see his understanding of the world. That is, thoughts equal to the world. That's a very, very important concept. That's inspired Hegel. Later on, I'll let you know. All right? So, according to Parmenides, or Parmenides' ideas, I summarize it into the micro world. Micro world. Parmenides' ideas are here, right? Of course, I expanded and make some changes with. But I must say, I learned a lot from him. He's the first guy to give me the inspiration to do this. Parmenides. All right? Okay, let's go to the second one, Plato. All right? Well, everybody knows, so I don't need to write it down here. Everybody knows the greatest idea for Plato. He wrote 36 dialogues, many other things, politics, republic, or whatever. The most important thing is the form theory, right? Everybody knows that. Form theory is summarized in the macro world too. If you dig into this, you can see his form theory as a shadow behind it. That I call it 实在. So thought forms. Plato doesn't distinguish the difference. All right? He just say from reality we have forms. But in macro world of the Instancology are distinguished into another level. Reality is one level, thoughts is another level. In thought, we have a thought form and a thought content. All right? If you dig deeper, you will see the difference. You understand why it should be divided like that. All right? So Plato's ideas inherited from him is the form. It's in the macro world too. The third guy is, of course, Aristotle. What Aristotle's great, he wrote like 300,000 words, but not left here, left later by Islam culture, maintained it and translated in the Renaissance period and things like that. There's still a lot, and like his Organon, his ethics, a lot of other things, right? And but I think the Aristotle's biggest contribution to me is the reality. What is there? And what it is? What's the law of reality? According to Aristotle, that's logic. And also, what's the law of it? It's a mathematics. He affirms that. He built up whatever ever after it, but that's a foundation, the reality of our world. In other words, in my theory, the reality comes to space and time that's called a pair of properties. In other words, time and space is just something on a certain stage of development that they exist. So we need to have this idea. All right? Let me give you an example. Animals have sex, and humans have it too. But when humans have sex, we have another level of property called love. Right? That's because things develop into this stage with additional things to add it to it. It's the same for morality, same for aesthetics or beauty. Only you reach some stages, higher level of stages, you will be exposed to certain properties of which the lower levels of development doesn't have or don't have. You cannot reduce the higher level properties into a lower level. Speaking of the reduction thing, it reminds me of the controversy of creation versus evolution. Nowadays, not every, but biologists try to create life. From what? From chemistry. Have you realized what the methodology they use? They think the reduction is correct. They think they can start from a lower level to create higher level things. Wrong. Reduction won't work. You cannot find the feature of whole by dividing whole to parts. According to Aristotle, the whole has its special properties parts don't have. So how can you do reduction? How many biologists realize that? They work day and night in the laboratories trying to manufacture, to start from scratch, to make DNA or RNA, to create a life. They are thinking, since we now already know molecules, we know atoms, we even know smaller ones like electrons or even quantum elements, why we cannot produce life. It's still a few levels lower, we know it. We even know nowadays no God particles. Right? So they think they know everything. You cannot create life from chemistry. As you cannot create society from biology. You cannot create a spiritual life from society, like animals' kingdom. You cannot. That's called reductionism is wrong. Each level of the development has its own features or properties that cannot be reduced to lower level. The methodology is wrong. Do they realize that? I don't think so. All right, okay, let's continue. Let's some off the topic and digress a little bit. All right, let's go to the next one. What's after Aristotle? It's Descartes. Yeah, Descartes or Descartes. All right. From Descartes, my theory benefits a lot is his dualism. A lot of people feel it's a bad thing. No. I'm thinking from material, from matter, life grows out of it. And then later I realized I'm wrong. So I changed it. When absolute, change to this. When the absolute creates a relative, creates something. Oh, by the way, this verifies that the proof of God of absolute doesn't depend on something. All right, did I summarize this? Okay, I just added to it. Okay, if you rerun my previous talk, you can see. I don't remember if I did this part, but basically I'm saying the proof of God by IA is not by something. It's not by the method of proving, proof, as in the past, as in Aquinas. As I said, Aquinas is the highest in human history in the process of proving God, but I chop it off entirely. Okay? All right, now let's come to discard. I said dualism. That means two things. What I get from this? When the absolute creates the relative, that is something, it has the absolute seed of life, or LS, life seed, pregnant like a little sperm, go into the relative and try to find a suitable environment, found the egg to grow. What is the egg? The solar system. All right? Our solar system. When it gets it there, make a life. Out of that life, grows human being. Out of human being comes to the stage of highest with a pair of property. Remember this word, a pair of property. Like the pair of property of time and space, now it's called consciousness and the thinking. That's the right half and the left half of your brain. Why do you have two halves? Why they just go like a lump sum one, big ball or little ball inside your head? Why they divide into two? They are totally functionally different. That's why. That's two sides. If you want me to go more into this, I can tell you one side is syntax. The other side is semantics. All right? One side is like a propeller of the airplane going forward. How far you want to go, I will go, as long as you are alive. The other side gave meaning. Why do we go there? For what? So they are different worlds. But anyway, it's off topic. All right. Okay. Let's come to nice big guy, Kant. Kant, the German guy, Immanuel Kant. Or Kant. Or Kant. Or whatever. My Chinese accent, maybe. All right. What I learned from Kant, inherited from Kant. Kant is the first guy since Descartes' analysis methodology. Reason has limits. That's the biggest achievement Kant contributes to philosophy or to human beings' knowledge. We cannot trust entirely on reason alone, on logic alone. There is more to it. That's the idea. So when you study Kierkegaard, when you study Schopenhauer, when you study Nietzsche, you'll know that's right. And when I was a graduate student, I didn't realize. But later on, I realized he is right. Eventually, you come to the two hemispheres of your brain. You know that is philosophy, the two sides of philosophy. All right? That's a little bit too much. All right, let me speed up. It's too long. Next one is Hegel. This is a big guy. All right? In Bagwan.net, I wrote articles. If you want to read, you can read there. There's a lot of things. Hegel is a guy I only want to stress. You don't understand Hegel. You don't understand the AI. But how difficult is Hegel? Bertrand Russell doesn't understand it. I read his The History of Western Philosophy. I know. He doesn't. And John Searle of the Berkeley, nowadays still alive, full professor for 50 years. He admits he doesn't understand Hegel. See, what a nerve. I admire that. Many professors don't want to admit they don't understand Hegel. You don't understand Hegel, you don't understand the IA. That's for sure. It's also only a necessary condition. You know what's the difference between necessary and sufficient, right? Okay, so you get my point. Hegel is so important here. But you think IA is the old Hegel? Wrong. All right? When you know more, you will know it. Next big guy, Heidegger. Heidegger is basically his contribution. The biggest contribution is round up, finish the circle since Parmenides. All right? From the aspect of the content of the thought. All right? Then we come to the last one, Wittgenstein. When Wittgenstein says, if you cannot say it clearly, keep silence or shut up. That's the language is a form of the thought. What does he imply? Or what does this sentence imply? There's more to epistemology than reason, than language can express. There's more things there. How do you get it without language? Go to the East. Find some epistemology there. That I call pure 无性 or insight. All right, think about that. These two guys, Wittgenstein and Heidegger, basically finished philosophy. So in this tense, the instancology and absolutology is no longer part of philosophy anymore. That's why I say this. But in line with the searching for wisdom, the IA is still philosophy. So philosophers still have a job, no problem. All right, keep going. Cheers. See you next time. Thank you.